Okay, here we go again. The SETI Institute. Okay, boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what. These guys, you know, as what Stanton Friedman used to call them. The late Stanton Friedman used to call SETI the silly effort to investigate. Well, the real name is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, but you know what? It doesn't seem like that. It never really has it? And it still doesn't. Okay, now on July 4th, 2021, the SETI Institute posted a tweet basically for an article written by somebody from this website, Many Worlds. But anyway, it says here in their tweet, a soon to be released government report that will likely be intriguing and widely consumed by many, quote, UFO believers, end quote. Why does it have to be in quotes? Like, what's that all about? Anyway, however, the moment will pass with no intelligent aliens identified and return again sometime in the future for another round. Okay, that's what they're saying. Then you can click over to the article. It's written by a guy named Mark Kaufman. He's the author of 2 books. This guy's obviously a UFO debunker. No question about it. And anyway, he has an article here on his website, Many Worlds. Sure, UFOs exist, but there's no reason to conclude that aliens are flying them. Okay, like this guy, he's pontificating his incredible education and intelligence to let you know that there's no evidence of aliens. Let's see what he writes here. It seems to happen with some regularity. Claims that unidentified flying objects that are visiting us have captured the public imagination once more, and a big reveal is expected soon. That will come oddly from a government report required to be released by the end of June that will supposedly detail the many sightings made by high-flying military pilots and unexplained detections by satellites. The requirement was added to the COVID relief package that was passed by Congress in December and orders the Department of Defense and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to release their unclassified findings on the subject, information that has been apparently collected for decades. In terms of national defense, these reports could indeed be meaningful if other nations are sending drones or satellites of some sort, true UFOs, to get close to and study American assets, and that's important news. But of course, the UFO drama is overwhelmingly about something else, the claimed presence of intelligent aliens that are scoping out Earth for reasons ranging from awe-inspiring to extremely worrisome. The report, which sources say concludes that there is insufficient evidence to confirm or conclusively rule out extraterrestrial UFO sightings, will no doubt be widely consumed by a population with many, quote, UFO believers, end quote. Well, why did this guy have to put that in quotes? I'm going to put, when I write, if I ever write an article about this guy, I'm going to put, if whatever he is, a writer in quotes. Or scientist in quotes. After all, a 2019 Gallup poll found that 33% of American adults said that alien spacecraft from distant planets and galaxies have been visiting us. And he finds us all unfortunate, of course. This guy finds it all so unfortunate. And it's misguided and potentially damaging. The moment will pass with no intelligent aliens identified, and then will return again sometime in the future for another round. Right? And then he thinks what's damaging about this, right? He thinks what's damaging to this guy is that it's going to cause problems to the real science that he claims, the real science that's being conducted. The potential damage is to the very real, very challenging, very cutting-edge science being conducted around the world that seeks to identify actual signs of actual extraterrestrial life in the cosmos, or at least to know what to look for when we have space telescopes and instruments with the necessary power. It's just unbelievable. The guy we're down to the end of this long diatribe. My conclusion: let's leave the search for extraterrestrial life and just possibly intelligent life to the scientists. Okay, that's, there are scientists out there for decades, right? What are you doing? What have you been doing? Okay. I mean, what's SETI doing? And SETI's promoting this on their Twitter account. Okay. SETI promotes this kind of ideology. What are they doing? I mean, do they really want to find extraterrestrials, or don't they? There's been evidence going on this planet for decades. There's numerous pictures. There's been photographs. There's been video. There's been film. There's been thousands upon thousands of people who say they were abducted by aliens. Some people were abducted right in front of others. Travis Walton case. Okay. There's been things going on. How come they're not interested in looking at that? How come the scientists aren't looking? Instead, they're more interested in sending out radio signals to see if they can contact intelligent life that way, when there's stuff going on right here. When do you put your focus on right here? I mean, I don't know what's the purpose of SETI. What is your purpose? It's supposed to be the search for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Okay, it looks like there might be some evidence going on right here, but you're looking at something where there's nothing going on. You got nothing. There's stuff going on here all the time. It's been going on since the 40s. Have any of these people at SETI ever read any books on this subject? Have they ever looked at all the research that's been done by independent researchers and independent scientists? Did they consider that at all? I mean, what's going on with this group, SETI? It is a silly effort to investigate because they're not doing anything. They don't do anything, and they downplay all the real stuff that's been going on for years. The wheels are coming off. This is about job security. They post stuff like that because they don't want extraterrestrials to be here. They're not interested in that. That means the whole thing gets shut down. What's the whole point? They're already here. Why don't you try contacting the ones that are already here instead of sending out radio signals? Why don't you try doing something with that? There's all kinds of evidence. I mean, in addition to the alien abductions, there's the cattle mutilations. UFOs are seen, the cattle disappeared, and they show up 20 minutes later, and there's completely no blood in them, and the eyeballs torn out, anuses cored out, all the meat gone. When are you looking into those? Or how about the physical trace elements left by craft that have landed and left marks on the ground, or caused the vegetation on the ground to be all dried out? And why don't you look into those things? I mean, why don't these scientists, quote, scientists, end quote, looking into those things? Mark. Hey, Mark. Hey, listen, Mark. Why aren't they looking into those things? I'm going to tell you something. I saw one. I know for a fact. I don't need anybody to tell me. I saw one in 1994. I was on a fishing trip. I've talked about this in other podcasts and videos that are out there. I've written about it in the newspaper I used to write for back in the early 2000s. I wrote a column about the experience. Okay, I was fishing with a friend. We were in the middle of nowhere. This object came. It was right above our heads. It was as big as a house with 3 giant lights on it, and it had made no sound whatsoever. It was only 2 or 3 stories off the ground. I thought the thing was going to land. It moved in ways our aircraft do not move. It was unbelievable. I saw it. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. My friend saw it too. And you know what? You know what his first reaction was? His first reaction after we got out of there, scared out of our minds, and we got out of there, his first reaction was, I'm not saying anything to anybody. No, I'm not telling anybody. You know why? His first reaction was that because, he was worried about the stigma that people like SETI and the federal government and the mainstream media have been, causing everyone in the world to believe that the stigma that associates with extraterrestrials and flying saucers. It makes some people, you must be crazy if you saw one of them. That's because that's what people like SETI do. But you know what? It's actually you guys are crazy. You're actually stupid. You're not even. I don't even know how you could call yourself scientists. You're not looking at the evidence that's already here. You're sending out radio signals. What do you think you're gonna do? For how long is this going on now? 70s. And what do you got? And meanwhile, there's all these UFO reports. You have the Pentagon. I don't know why they're doing this. I guess maybe they're starting to peel the lid back a little bit. And if that's the truth, if they are starting to, disclose it maybe a little bit at a time here, they're not going to admit that they're extraterrestrials, even though we know they are. They're not Chinese. They're not Russian. They're not from China. They're not from Russia. What was that flying saucer in McMinnville, Oregon, back in 1950 that was taking a picture of? Was that Chinese or was that Russian back in 1950? Because that's the same kind of stuff that they're seeing today. That wasn't Chinese or Russian back then, and it ain't Chinese and it ain't Russian today. Okay, it's not. It's not just natural phenomena either. These are objects that show up on radar. Radar, you know what that is, right? You're a quote scientist, end quote, right? Radar shows up on radar. You know what that is, right? And then there's also pilots, lots of pilots who see these things, and they say they move so fast it looks like they disappear. Okay, so this has been going on for decades, and you guys don't look into it. Instead, you're sending out radio signals and prop yourself up as the real quote scientist, end quote, looking into this. Okay, let's guess what? This is the beginning of the end for an organization like SETI. The wheels are coming off. They're coming off because you're a joke. The evidence is you should have been looking at what's going on here. Okay, because there's stuff already here.